welcome to today's show. I'm your host Manasseh Wekesa, and today in studio I have an entrepreneur. She's a young lady, focused lady, and we'll be discussing the impact of the coronavirus, aka the COVID-19, on the livelihood of Kenyans. So welcome to studio. Kindly briefly tell us your name and where you come from.
Thank you so much, Manasseh. It's an honor to do this with you. My name is Sharon Kamau, a young entrepreneur, born and raised in Kayole. Like, we are so aware of Kayole, 1960. I was born in Kayole, raised in Kayole, schooled in Kayole. Yeah, but later I discovered I had interest in computer packages. I was later enrolled in Magnatech Institute, where I did my 10 packages, and in a duration of 3 months I became employed in a certain cyber just within Kayole, where I improved my skills, and in a duration of 2 years I was running my own cyber cafe after saving enough.
Wow, that's an amazing story for a young lady like you. You know, most ladies of your age.
How?
Will you mind sharing with the viewers your age?
I'm 20, turning 21 in the next 11 days. Is it 11 or 10 days? In short, I'm 21 years. At the age of 21, I know it's very traumatizing to people. At the age of 21, owning your own cyber and employing people. Yeah.
That's very inspiring for a young lady like you. 21 years of age, attaining such achievements. So, on today's topic, will you share on how your business was before the pandemic and how the entry of the pandemic into the country affected your business? So, just kindly elaborate on how your business ran before the pandemic.
Generally, what I will say is, before the entry of COVID-19 in our country, life was a bit bearable for us simple wananchis. We were able to meet our daily needs, which are food, shelter. Although we were struggling with the economy, but we could juggle between jobs, hustle in between to put food on our tables. Transport was faster and convenient, and also cheaper compared now after coronavirus.
And how did the entry of the coronavirus into the country affect your livelihood? As I understand, the restrictions might have hindered some of your businesses, and there's an impact that it caused on your business. So can you briefly describe?
Based on what I do for a living, essential products were affordable. My essential products are, I especially deal with dream papers, so at that time education was cheaper. So the time Corona invaded, schools were banned, of which you find most of our works came from schools. Our production went down.
That must have affected you deeply. And looking at the society, the people around you, your family, what was the impact of the coronavirus on them? How did it affect your family, your neighbors, your fellow business people? How was it?
At the society at large, many people lost their jobs because our works continued to incur losses, where most people they were forced to go on compulsory leaves. These people were the breadwinners of their families, where you find out that person is being dependent on, he or she should provide rent, school fees, and put food on the table. Looking at our churches were closed. Remember, there are some people who depend on churches. They have been employed by churches. So the moment our churches were locked and mosques, many people lost their job. We incurred losses in many things. Our children in the society, they were forced to leave school because of the pandemic, where you find most children, it led to cases of early pregnancies. Many children indulge themselves in dealing with drugs, crime activities, which it is a negative thing in the society.
I can see it was very bad for the society at large. And how about your workmates? Let's say your fellow business people. How did it affect them? Like, can you give us an instance of someone who you know that was affected financially by the pandemic?
I know of a friend who's a food vendor. She sells coffee and some mandazis from 6 p.m. all the way to midnight. So since Corona came, it has really affected her business because curfew was introduced. She has to be at home before 9, where you find before 9 she has not sold all of the foodies she was supposed to sell. It becomes challenging because this person being the breadwinner, it became difficult for her because she had to pay rent. The kids were there, they had to eat. Yes, Corona has really affected us in many ways.
How about the bars and the eateries? What can you comment on that? The limiting of the hours to working hours to 9 p.m. The president focused on them specifically and say that the bars and eateries have to open around. The bars have to open at 4 p.m. and close at 9 p.m. and the eateries, they also are restricted. How has that affected?
Businesses like bars and eateries have really suffered the most with these COVID restrictions and everything. Like, for instance, eateries and bars, they had employees who used to work from morning hours till the evening. Then later in the evening they shift. Others enter from evening till early in the morning, where you find many people were given a permanent leave, where they had to stop fast because they could not manage it with the restrictions. Also in eateries, you can see that their food products mostly came from up country, and with the impact of lockdowns and everything, it became difficult for food to be supplied to and from. It was expensive because the price of products became high. Transport was expensive, which has really affected them in many ways.
And how did the coronavirus affect the transport sector in the country and in Nairobi specifically?
The transport sector was hugely affected with the inter-counties movement, with the curfew thing, with the lockdown. You find many people who used to work for these circles, they were limited. For instance, let's say a vehicle is moving from Nairobi to Bungoma. They can't travel during the curfew time, which became a huge impact on them. So many people, they left jobs. You find for instance, the transportation fee was increased with the introduction of social distance. The number of people were limited in matatus, where like a Nissan people used to sit 14 passengers. It was reduced to 7 passengers. So there became increase in fare, and all stuffs.
I believe, to add on that upon the lockdown, the traveling circles, like the one from Nairobi to Bungoma, as you have said, there was no inter-county movement. It was seized, so they had to stop going to work because you could not travel between counties. And I believe that hugely impacted on the livelihood of the people who relied on them. Sharon, it has been nice having you on the show. You have been really informative, and I would appreciate it very much if you came back to our show another time.
It will be my pleasure, Mr. Manase.
Okay, have a good day. Thank you.
Welcome so much.
That's it for today's show, and